Hi everyone. So yesterday I took part in the 2 weeks with Kerby live stream event, and I did a live stream and I started this page. Now this is in Fragile World by Kerby Rosanes, and these are hooded grebes. So I started this page on the live stream, and it is the whole of the page so far has been done with gouache. So I thought I would continue this as a sort of little bit of a colouring chat, as I've had quite a few people ask, will I be doing the rest of this page on camera? So I am going to do a little colouring chat today and see how far we get. But in the live stream I managed to do the background. If you know this page, if you've seen it in Kerby Rosanes' books, you'll know that there was some of the hooded grebes flying in the background. I decided to block those out with the paint, and then just have the focus on these two right here. So everything's been done in gouache, the background, the heads of these hooded grebes. First off, we go in with a base coat of gouache, so it always goes through this horrific ugly stage where you think, you might watch me now and you might even tune out, you'll be like, oh my gosh, what's she doing? Looks like a car crash. But it gets there in the end, so you have to go through the ugly bit to get to the good bit. So I am going to get sort of grey tone. This is my reference, by the way. This is what I've been working with to try and get similar sorts of colours. I had trouble matching the correct colour on the head, but I thought, you know, it's my colouring page, so it is what it is. It's similar. But the bodies, I'm going to put a base colour of grey all over to start off with. And then when we start adding the details on top of that paint, that's when I will bring in the white for over the top, and I'll bring in browns for the back of the back. And by doing this you can get more depth, because if I went straight in with a white gouache, it'd be really flat. There'd be no textures, no different variations of colours in it. So I'm going to put the grey down first, and then I'm going to add some little, you know, the brown probably. I'll put the brown in next, and then I'll go in with the little, you know, feathery bits with whites and maybe different tones of greys and browns. But I thought, let's just have a colouring chat and I'll do this at the same time, because quite a few people have asked if I'm doing it on camera, finishing it off, and I thought, why not? So the paint I was using from the live stream yesterday, I left it on my palette, because what you can do this with watercolour and gouache. If you've got dried up paint on a palette from what you've used, there's still quite a lot left and you're planning on using it again, leave it on your palette. Next time you come to it, just add water to it again. So these are all the colours that was already here, and I've added more water, so we're just going to go with that. So I've got my grey colour. I'm going to choose quite a thickish brush to go in with the base colour, because we don't need any detailing doing yet. So I'm sort of making it into a creamy consistency for the initial base. Do I need to bring you in a little bit? Possibly. Should I chop the grebe's head off? I'm going to start on this one first, but I just thought I'd come on and have a chat. I've just, obviously this morning I've took the kids to school, and I've been in school for a meeting. One of the joyful things. So I'm really roughly going to go around the edges, all the little fluffing. See how you can just see it's a bit, needs to be zoomed in a bit more, but all these little sticky out bits that you can see from the head that I've brought down, I'll re-put those in, and I'll flick some out from the neck and all the way down when I go in with the detail stage. But this is just the mapping out, sort of under painting, if you will. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. So yeah, I've been in for a meeting this morning because my little girl's back on the pathway. They call it the pathway over here, and it's when you want to go for a diagnosis of autism for your child, you have to refer onto what's called a pathway, and there's several steps in the process, and it takes flipping years. But she's already been on the pathway and refused a diagnosis once because there wasn't enough information at that time. and they wanted to wait a bit longer to see how she presented, because she's got quite a few things going on. She's got selective mutism and sensory processing disorder as well, so they didn't know what sort of things were overlapping and they weren't sure. So the first time she went on the pathway to panel, it was a no, and that was 18 months ago now. So after 12 months you can send them back to panel basically and do the process all over again, because obviously things have changed, things have got worse or whatnot, things are more prominent. So I've just been doing all the paperwork. It's really annoying. It's like a questionnaire that you have to fill in as a parent, a questionnaire that school has to fill in, and then school has to fill in all a summary of needs form, which is, I've had a look at it today and I thought it's going to take her a while to do that. Yeah, summary of needs form. There was an all about me form that I had to do, and then I stayed up until midnight and I did 3 A4 pieces of paper just explaining a day in the life of my child. So from waking up in the morning to going to bed at night, minute by minute, what happens during the day. And I've sent that in as well, because to me, when you're just doing tick boxes, that's not a great representation of what day-to-day life is with a child. With Sen, it doesn't explain anything. It's just, does she do this tick, does she do that tick? It's not detailed enough, it's not personalised. So I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to write my own sort of statement thing, send it in with it, and you know, I'm not having it sort of thing. So I did that. So we'll see, but everything takes so long. It's like when you send any paperwork in, it's months before you hear anything from sending paperwork in, before you go to the next step. You know, it's so annoying. Right, I'm going to roughly just make sort of a line here where the bottom of the body would be, because this bit doesn't need to be too precise at the bottom, because when we come to doing the water bit, I am going to have the water sort of how we've got these waves, which I've painted over now, but how we've got these waves splashing up, I will pop some of those back in with my paint later, once the birds have been complete, and again to the water I will pull some of the water up over those birds. So you know, this is what I meant, this is the ugly stage. Look at how patchy and horrible that looks and flat, but don't worry, we're gonna make it awesome. We're gonna make it awesome. Now I'm gonna bring that grey up onto his neck as well, and we're gonna re-put those nice little details in with my finer brush once this is dry, so don't worry about that. I'm going to do the second bird where I've already got the paint mixed up, because I may as well, so we'll do that. Hopefully I'll not stick my hand in that because it's still a bit wet. If some of the line art starts to come through, don't worry about it. Like I say, that'll be being covered up anyway when we do the water, but if you was worried, you can always go back in with a thicker consistency of gouache. You can only see it a little bit anyway, but yeah, so I feel like there's a weight lifted now anyway, because I've done all them forms I needed to do. I've sent them into school, so all I need to do now is wait for school to fill in their half of the forms, and then we've got to make a copy of everything and email all the information over to the neurodevelopmental team. And then it'll be a waiting game again, because they'll take in all these questionnaires and all this information, and they'll decide if they've got enough evidence to take it back to panel. If they decide they've not got enough evidence and they want some more evidence, they might come back and say, oh, we want this professional to go in and see her and do a report, we want that professional to go in and do a report. Or it could be that they want to do this ADOS test, which is, last time they knew that she wouldn't respond to doing an ADOS test. It's a bit like, they see how your social communication skills are basically. Your child goes into a room and and they play little games and things with them, but it's seeing how they react socially with the professionals in the room. But because of my daughter's selective mutism, she wouldn't engage in that. So they did agree last time that, you know, she wouldn't do that. You know, but there's a chance that they might come back and say, oh, well, we wanted to do the ADOS test. Who knows? But we'll see. If they agree they've got enough information and they can send her back to panel, and I'm not sure how long the waiting list for panel is, but I think last time it was around 6 months. 9 months. It was 9 months waiting list for the child to go to panel. So yeah, it's gonna be next year now before we hear anything, I think. But it's just it's so strange how differently it works in different, not even different countries, like in different areas of England where we are, just in different boroughs, everything is so different, the way that they do things. And as well, if you've got a preschool aged child, so if your child's anywhere from 18-20 months age to 3-4-year-old, the diagnosis process for that age group is a lot easier, because my eldest, she's 12 now, she got diagnosed with autism when she was 3.5 years old, and it was so much easier than trying to get a school-aged child diagnosed. I don't know why the process is so different, but anyway, that's my little rant on that for the day. It's just fresh in my mind because that's what I've been doing. I was up until midnight doing all them forms, and it's just there. I've been to a meeting this morning, so just chatting about it, guys. And if you don't know anything about Sen, you'll probably be like, what's she chatting on about? What's she talking about, that woman? Right, there's the other bit of the ugly stage complete. So you've really got to have an open mind when you're doing this, I think, because obviously once you go in with a gouache, it's not like watercolour. It's not, you can make it transparent, but you'd have to then use it as it being like watercolour. But in the consistency that gouache generally is, when you put that down, you're losing all your line art, so then you've got to have the confidence to be able to pop that back in, to pop all that line art back in. So I'm going to let this dry for a little minute, and then I'm going to come in with my smaller brush, because this is not going to get the details we want because it's too big. I'm going to switch to, let me find it, I had a nice brush yesterday that was giving me nice details for the feathers. This one here, now it is a bit frayed a little bit, but it gives me some nice little feather strokes. This one, it gives me some nice little feather strokes, so I'm going to use this. I'm going to go in with the browns first. So once I've let it dry a little bit, it doesn't, that's the good thing about gouache as well, because it's a bit like acrylic paint where it sort of dries relatively quickly, depending on how much water you've added to it, but it does dry relatively quickly. So I'll give it a little look with my card. You can see how this one is almost dry now. There's only this little patch here and here. This one's still rather wet, you can see. But yeah, I'm going to do this bit first so it's back. So I'm going to pop in all those brown type of details. Now I have already got these sort of colours mixed on my palette from when we did the head, so it's similar sort of colours, maybe a little bit of grey throughout some of these feathers down the bottom. But yeah, I'm going to pop that colour in first. I've just noticed as well, these birds do have like a little bit of an ochre or creamy type shade there. Yeah, you can see it, it's like a yellowing, isn't it, almost on the bellies in some places. So not forgetting that as well, to add all the different colours. Yeah, I think we'll go for that. So I'm going to try, it doesn't matter if it's a tiny bit wet if I'm honest, but I'm going to try and pop these brown tones in now. So I'm just trying to work out in my head how I want to do these feathers, because if you remember, the actual feathers on the illustration were like, where's my pencil and a pen? Paper. Now I could either follow this and try to make them more realistic like this, so you can only, it's like a block colour almost, and then just a few little lines here and there. There's an emergency vehicle, guys. Emergency vehicle going past. Or I could follow what Kerby Rosanes has done. So his illustration had like this type of feather where they've sort of bunched up like this. Do you know what I mean? That this is looking like something rude, but as a quick demonstration, right, this is how Kerby Rosanes did them, and you can see them coming through slightly, and then he's done his little hatching, what do you call it, on some of the feathers. Now I could do that, I could go back in and do it how he's done that, or I could go with a more realistic approach, and I'm not quite sure which one to do. Or maybe a bit of both, maybe a bit of a few little lines like this with a few right, this is going to turn into, let's just see what happens. I believe this is going to turn into, let's wing it. So I'm going to make sure that all these nice brown tones here that we had on the palette yesterday are nice and wet. There's a lighter one, like a tan colour, and then a nice dark one. And with gouache, from what I've heard, from what I've learnt so far, it's best to go in with your darker colours first and then your lighter on top. So I'm going to start with the darker one, the darker brown. That's just what I've heard, guys. Might be wrong information, who knows. So yeah, this is what we're going for. This is what we're going for. I think it'll get better once you get more and more tones in there, so the more colours you put on, the better. Let's go for it. So I'm going to start on the edge, just about, do I need to come in a little bit more, do you think? I'm going to start on the edge because this brown sort of starts right on the edge of the neck, just a little tiny bit, and then it comes into the full blown colour. So just roughly around here, don't wipe my brush off, that's too cakey. Just around here I'm gonna create some of those little spikes that are coming from behind there. Not too worried about how it looks here at the minute because we're going to be going over that with the white. So I'm just concentrating on how the little spiky bits look that I'm flicking out, rather than what it looks on the inside of the neck, if you get me. Again, we're going to go through another ugly stage, but you know, it'll come together, she says. So now we're coming to the part where it's more prominent, so I can actually see a little tiny bit of the original liner, and I know that's where this brown starts, so we can sort of start flicking some of those little feather strokes in, because I can see some of them coming through the paint. And this is just the first colour we're putting down, so when we start getting the different shades and tones of the browns, greys, whites, even those bits of yellows that we've seen, it will all start coming together nicely. You'll see the depth start to happen, and when that starts to happen, it'll start looking good. But right now it's just the basics. Probably not going to get much done on this colouring chart, if I'm honest, but I just wanted to come on, show you how I'm sort of going about it, because sometimes when you put finished pages up, completed pages up, people look at it and go, oh, that's really good, but they have no idea how you've gone about achieving it. Well, now you can see. I might even add some black to this brown and do some really much darker areas as well. I'm thinking that in a second. I'm mapping out where I want the shape, so I want these brown feathers to sort of come this way, like this. It sort of comes in and then comes back out on itself again. So maybe around there, and then yeah, it comes down here. You can see I'm just doing some mapping out here, guys. Mapping out of the feather strokes, and then it comes down here to an end. Comes down here to an end. So everything on this side of that line is brown, sort of feather strokes, whatever you want to call them. There's a few which creep in on this side, but mainly this is all white on the belly side. We've got a few strong dirt brown lines just around here at the bottom on my reference picture, but again, a reference is just so you can get a general idea of colours of animals and stuff. You don't have to follow it to the T. Some people like to, but mainly in an area where it's more blocky as well, you can put more paint on your brush so it is more pigmented and more full, should we say. And then bits that are more detailed and delicate, make sure that your brush isn't too overloaded, and then you can get the nicer little details with that. But I am going to also map out the edge of the bird, so I'm going to get my paint quite loaded up where we just put the edging in, all the way down, and then I'm going to do my little flicks out. Regarding this bit down here and the lines that you flick out, I'll only be able to pop those in after I've done the water, because if I put them in now, when I come to doing the water, I'm going to paint over them. So the little flicks that I'm going to create on the bottom here, I'll just do them, wipe my brush off a bit, it's a bit too much. I'm just going to do them up to this water line here, so maybe up to there. There we go. And then I'm going to pull some of these little lines here and there, but this will take me forever, guys. It's just about, I think it's really about just keep coming back to it, doing a bit more, going away, coming back to it. It's just one of them things, but I find it really therapeutic painting. I love it. That's why I started doing the Pantone cards, because they just, my mind goes completely quiet when I start painting. It's just brilliant. It's brilliant. But the back of the bird is definitely, you know, more full around the back, and then it gets more detailed towards the belly of it, I think. I'm just trying to really fill up this grey space with all these feathers around here. And I can still sort of see some of the line art from Kerby underneath. I think with birds as well, do you know how some animals you especially if it's fur, on certain parts of the body it seems to all go in the same direction, whereas the feathers on a bird are sort of a bit wispier almost, so they're sort of going in a few different directions, which makes it more interesting. Not tuned out yet, have you? Thinking, no, this is a car crash, like I said. But look, he's I promise you it'll come together. Probably thinking, oh my, oh me, oh my. That's what I think myself half the time. Tell myself, carry on, it will come together. But yeah, I think I've gone for the more realistic approach here rather than the big, rather than this approach. But that's the fun thing about if you use gouache like this in this manner, it sort of gives you more creativity. I'm making it more compact around here, as you can see. If you even wanted to emulate, I think I'll do it more as you come over here, but if you wanted to emulate, let me bring them in even further. I've just done it a little bit there. If you want to emulate the shape of this, you can sort of, another emergency vehicle, you can sort of pop the shape in. Always emergency vehicles when I'm filming. Although on that live stream yesterday, not one went past, and I was streaming for 2 hours, not one went past. So you put that shape in and then you can sort of flick out on the edges and a bit more there, sort of like that. And that's one there. And then do it again. If you wanted to do it like that, but then get more tones in, Kirsty. You could do that. I might put a few in around here, sort of thing. Or I might paint over it and not. Might paint over it and not. Don't know if I like it or not. But that's the thing, you can paint over with gouache, because like acrylic paint, you can cover up pretty much anything with it. But if you want to do like clusters like that, put them a bit closer together, that's quite nice, isn't it? Clusters of feathers. Anybody got any plans for the weekend? What day are we today? We're Thursday, so we're almost at the weekend, aren't we? I'm out of frame. I'm out of frame. Let me zoom back out so I don't forget how far in I am. Is anybody doing anything nice? We're at a birthday party with the kids on Saturday. We're going to a trampoline park. I'm sure you all know about them if you've got kids. Crowded with children. That's what they are. Not my favourite place to be, I'll be honest. Unless some mum gives me a hot chocolate with cream. They're rather nice from them play centres, the hot chocolates. But yeah, we're going there. The kids have been super excited about it. But my daughter's got a swimming lesson in the morning. Well, my daughter's swimming lesson's at 9:30 in the morning till 10 o'clock. But we normally only get home about 10:30. And then this party at the trampoline park's 1 PM, I think. So got to get back from swimming, do them some dinner quickly, and then drive to the trampoline park. Have some fun there. I don't know how long it's for actually, I'm just trying to think. I think we'll be home for tea time, dinner time. It really does take time, this, guys, and it's really probably... Watching me paint this is probably like watching paint dry for you. I do apologise. But people wanted to see it. People wanted to see it. It's like that thing that I said the other day, how I prefer instant gratification, so I like doing something that I can finish quite quickly. Well, this is the complete opposite. This is definitely not instant gratification, guys. Unless you skip to the end, at which point, with it being a colouring chart, I probably will not have finished it still. So, you know, just come for the chitter chatter, come for the chitter chatter. Chitter chatter? It's a tongue twister. But once you start filling up all that, I'm going to say grey space, but in any other thing we're colouring, we'd call it filling up the white space. As soon as you start doing that, with all the different colours, it just pops, it comes to life, and you think, oh yeah, it's really nice now. Oh yeah, I'm getting some nice little detailing in now. I'm trying to dip into my darker browns as well, so we've got that little bit of variation. And then I'll be adding whites around the belly area. It's going to look quite nice as well, because we're going to have the white on the belly area on this bird, and then this one's going to be meeting it with some sort of a bit of ochre on this one. So you're going to be able to tear the two apart, if you know what I mean. They're not going to merge into each other because we're going to have different tones on this side of the bird. You know what I want to try though, and it's because of something that's coming up, which you'll find out when the video goes up. But I really want to try and blend with alcohol markers. I know that's totally curveball from what I'm doing at the moment, but I really want to be able to blend with them, because at the moment when I use my alcohol markers, I just use them for a base. So I might colour something in one block colour with an alcohol marker. Gosh, I can't talk this morning. I might colour something blocked, and then I'll sort of put the shading in with pencils over the top, because I do not know how to blend with the alcohol markers. But I really want to try and give it another go, I think. I do. Now I'm putting in some of this darker colour around. I'll pop some here, I think. Gonna try and sort that out a bit better. Just adding some more water to my gouache on my palette. It started drying up a bit in the little area over there. So this is where we drew the cut-off point, isn't it? Because this side is the white. So I'm just gonna pop some more little strokes in around here, some darker ones up here. We can always come back to the brown after we've put the white in as well, and put some more brown in over the top of the white when we've put the whites in. It's about layering with gouache. You get some really nice effects by layering with it. And the silence is my concentration phase. Colour and chat. No chat. Silence. I think that's roughly where I want to be with the browns at the minute, although I might make it a bit more darker in some places. I'm gonna add some more dark down here, really down the edge of the back to make it more heavy. Oh, I'm looking forward to Eurovision as well. My partner always calls me because he's like, it's rubbish, but I love watching it. I love even all the quirky ones, the really quirky songs and outfits, and I love it. I love watching it. And it's of course being hosted here in the UK this year, in Liverpool. So I'll be excited to watch that on the telly. I quite like the UK's song, the entry that we're putting in, but I don't think it'll be last year's song. We came second last year with Sam Ryder's Spaceman song, and I loved it. I don't think it's going to top that. Not quite. I don't want to be the negative Nelly, but I don't think it's quite as good as what we had last year. But who knows? Hey, these votes, they're very strange. They're very strange sometimes, these votes. Very strange. See, I like how that's looking now. It's more full on the back. That's how it looks more in the reference. Darker and more full around there, around that area. It is really, I don't want to say it's easy, because you do have to spend some time and keep layering and keep fiddling, but the sort of strokey movements you use to create this is easy, I want to say. So if I just zoom out and let you look what it looks like properly so far, look how it's looking. Is that alright camera angle? Look how it's looking so far, and that's just with the one colour. Once we start getting all the different textures in, it's just going to be beautiful. So we'll carry on going anyway, because I'm only 38 minutes into the video, so we've got an hour before I have to give up. We've got an hour. So now I'm going to bring in some lighter tones around this section. So how we've built up this section with the dark browns, I'm going to build up this next section with some lighter ones. So let me just mix my paint and make sure that it is the lighter shade, which I think it is. It is. And then we're going to go in with some more little strokes around here. If we start around here, that's nice. So you can see that's more of a sort of tan shade, just popping through a little bit, but again it's going to fill up all that grey space we've got going on quite nicely. I'm going to flick some of them out up here. When we come to doing the white bit, we will have to neaten up the edges where the meat, sort of where the white meets the brown feathers. We'll have to neaten that up a little bit. I'm just popping some around that area there because that will go into the white more easily then. Is even a pop of colour here? Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. The grey's nice coming through as well, because on the reference picture there is some dark greys coming through from underneath. Dip back in. The sun's shining again today here, guys. Doesn't it just make you feel happy when the sun's shining? You could keep building this up as well. Once you put the lighter shade of brown in, if you're not happy with how it looks, go back in with some more deeper browns as well to fill in the gaps. I might pop some more extras around looking at it. You can take a step back. You can even take a picture on your phone, take a picture of your work, then look at the picture, and you can normally see a lot of things by doing that you can't with the naked eye. It's really strange, but I like doing that. I like taking a picture and looking at it because I can normally spot something on the picture that I can't spot with my naked eye. Still in frame, aren't I? Yep, I am. Whoop whoop. So have you all been enjoying the Kerby event? I have. I've not been able to get into a lot of streams, but the ones I've been able to jump into, I've really enjoyed. You've all really outdone themselves with the colouring and using different mediums, and I've really enjoyed it. Right, going back in with some darker paint now. I'm just going to put a few here and there to fill out some gaps. When you first put the darker colour down, it looks really harsh, but it dries. It blends in as it dries, should I say. A bit more. There we go. I'm going to come in with the whites now. So first of all, I'm going to go in with an even paler grey. So paler than this grey that we put down. I'm going to mix something a little brighter. And then I'm going to put the bright white on top of that. So it's like a couple of layers we're going to do here. So let me add some more white to this white paint, to this grey paint at the side of me. I need to order myself some more white gouache. I go through it like there's no tomorrow with all my paintings. because I literally add white to everything. Literally. Anything I paint, anything I do, it's always got white added. So I'm just mixing this at the side now on my palette to try and get a nice consistency. We want a nice creamy consistency that's going to flow easily. Right, I think this is a bit brighter, but we'll see. We'll start under the neck. I'm going to pull you down. I'm going to start under the neck here and see. Yeah, so it's a little bit lighter. That's good. And we're just going to go in with all these little strokes. Now, I'd say they're like downwards kind of strokes on the neck, so it is like it does flow nicely downwards. You can do some longer strokes on these ones. Hey, we've been doing quite short strokes down here. You can do quite long ones on the neck. They do sort of sweep around. They go straight, but some sweep around in a little bit of a direction. I suppose. These are going to meet these brown ones as well, so they're going to just overlap down there a little bit, and that's why we said this bit didn't need to be neat at the time, because it was going to be gone over. So this is sort of another layer, another dimension to the colours that we're putting down, another base, because the pure white is going to go on top of this grey. So don't be too worried about getting this part perfect, because we are going to be going over it. So you can, that's why I said make longer strokes with these ones, really get that colour down, but we don't want a block colour, we want like a feathered look. You can go in with your longer strokes just to get that colour down. Do a couple of stray hairs that are going in a slightly different direction. If you want to do that though, sort of a little bit of a crisscross here and there. Move you up a little bit. But this is, I mean, if I'd have just put the finished page up on Instagram, you'd have been like, how has she done that? Probably, wouldn't you? You might not realise that there's so many layers going into it. But now you know, you can give it a go. You can give it a go. So we're gonna come into this brown bit as well with a few of these strokes, because we need to merge those colours in. As we get down off the neck, you can start going from longer strokes to some shorter ones. If you feel that's better around here, doing shorter ones probably is. So carry on your longer strokes to roughly around here-ish. And then as we slowly get towards this brown, we're going to take the strokes smaller. So little baby strokes into there. You can pop a few around the top here and there, the little tiny strokes. I don't know if I'm zoomed in enough for you to see those little tiny strokes. It's really hard. Really hard, but yeah, just little strokes at the top. And then when we come to using the pure white paint, we can pop even more in. I'm going to bring it round here onto their belly. We've got our cut-off point there because he's going behind the other duck. Is it a duck? A grebe. Is it a duck or a goose? What animal would you say it was? A bird, a duck, or a goose? What's the difference? Are they just all called birds? Right, dipping back into my paint. Right. Now all our strokes are tiny as we blend this colour into all the browns here. So tiniest little strokes on these ones. You can pop some into the brown bits just to really get them merging together. I'm thinking about what I'm going to make for my dinner later. That's what's going through my head right now as I'm doing this. Oh, what can I have for dinner later? I keep saying I'll buy some salmon because I've not had salmon in ages. I quite like salmon. Right, I'm going to bring all these strokes down here. You can do slightly bigger strokes for the belly section. Just be wary when you're coming towards the brown bits to do tinier strokes. So still in frame, not gone off the screen, have I? Let's move you up there a little bit. So I'm just going to do this belly section down here and then we'll call it a colouring chat. But obviously he's not finished, he's nowhere near finished yet. But I just wanted you to see a little bit about how I'm going about doing it, that's all. And then when I put the finished page up on my community tab and on Instagram, you'll go, oh, I know why she did that. I know why she did that. Or I might give that a go myself. Do you think you'd be brave enough to have a go at this? Anybody? And if you got to the end of the video, well, it's nearly the end of the video, drop me a bird emoji. We'll go for a bird emoji, it's quite fitting, isn't it? A bird or a duck, because I mean, I don't know, is it a duck, is it a bird? We've got even more ducklings at our local duck pond, even more. There's about 4 sets of ducklings now, I think, on the local pond. But they nest in people's nearby gardens, so there's houses all around this local duck pond, and the female ducks, don't know if they've got a specific name, but they always build the nests in people's back gardens. And then some of them have been finding it difficult to find the way back to the water once all the eggs have hatched. So we've had quite a few neighbours recently who's had to rescue a few ducklings. There was some stuck down a grid where they've been trying to walk to the duck pond, and a couple of sets that were just lost. So they've had to, you know, put them in boxes and carry them to the pond. And they someone posted the other day, I popped the babies because they took them out the grid, the ones that had got stuck in the grid, they got them, put them in a box, and the lady who'd got them said the mother duck very happily followed behind me carrying all the babies. They managed to get them back to the duck pond. I'm going to pop a few little strokes here and there. There's all my little strokes gone in. I can start getting bigger with my strokes now as I come away from there. Let's dip back into the paint. The silence is my concentration face again, guys. But yeah, I always said to other people, I'm right at the start, before I started doing this little bit, I said to you, oh, this is just the underpainting bit. We're going on top with bright whites. This bit doesn't need to be perfect. And here I am trying to be a perfectionist. Meanwhile, not listening to own advice. That's what takes me so long on colouring pages, guys, because I just fuss and fuss and fuss. I don't listen to my own advice, even though I know this layer is gonna be covered up with white, with bright white. Yeah. Oh well. I am enjoying it though. That's the thing. If you're not enjoying it, don't do it. But if you're enjoying it, you don't mind the extra time, do you, if you're enjoying something? The extra time it takes. This might be one of my favourite pages in this book. If I don't mess up the water, because if I mess up the water, it might turn into the worst page. But I'm hoping, because I've done so much texture in the sky here, because I've done so much texture here and here, I'm thinking about trying to get a smooth water. So lots of depth still in it, lots of variation of colour, but more of a smooth. Apart from the waves, I'm gonna do a little bit of texture in the waves that are coming up here, but other than that, I'm gonna try and get the water quite smooth. So I'm gonna go over Kerby's line art and do my own thing, I think. We'll see. I might not. I might totally change my mind, but who knows? I need to pull it back down, don't I, because I'm off screen, just casually doing my own thing up here again. I'm just flicking out a few of these lines at the top of the little grebe's neck. There we go, so that's our base. That's our base, and let me zoom you out and you can have another look at that. So it's coming together slowly but surely, guys. Slowly but surely. I don't know whether I'll do the rest of this page off camera or on camera. I possibly might come on and do another colouring chat to finish this bird off. So to put the bright white on top, and then you've got a finished bird, and then you can see how that looks. I think this bird I'll do off camera in my own time, because you've seen me do this side and you know how I've done it, sort of thing. So I'll come back on and finish this bird off on another colouring chat. Let me know if you want me to do the water on a colouring chat. Let me know in the description. But this side of the bird I'll do in my own time, because I just think you don't need to sit here and watch me doing both. Both birds will be here till Christmas. But I'm really liking how it's looking. We just need that bright white over the top now to make it full and finished and done. But I hope you enjoyed watching this anyway. Do please pop me a big thumbs up and comment me a bird emoji in the comment section, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.